Okay, today's topic of discussion is cavernous sinus. Dural venous sinuses already discussed, and today's topic of discussion is cavernous sinus. Now, in this slide, you can see two cavernous sinuses. So, dural venous sinuses are paired sinus situated on each side of body of sphenoid bone, and its position is for extension from superior orbital fissure to apex of the petrous part of temporal bone. The cavernous sinuses are paired sinuses situated on each side of the body of sphenoid bone. Its extension is from superior orbital fissure to the apex of the petrous part of temporal bone. When you see the cavernous sinus in cadavers in the dissection hall, the sinus is traversed by interlacement of reticular fibers, making the sinus spongy in appearance. So because of its spongy in appearance is called cavernous sinus. But in distended sinus, in case of adult, it contains trabeculae only at the periphery near the entry of its tributary. So in distended sinus, you will not get reticular fibers throughout its extent, only present near the entry of its tributary. Dimensions or measurement of cavernous sinus: length is 2 cm and breadth is 1 cm. Come to the formation of cavernous sinus. The cavernous sinus is formed by separation of meningeal and endosteal layer of dura mater. It is formed by separation of meningeal and endosteal layer of dura mater. And this cavernous sinus is filled with venous blood, and it is covered with an endothelial lining. It has roof, lateral walls, floor, and medial wall. Roof and lateral walls are formed by meningeal layer of the dura mater. Floor is formed by endosteal layer. Medial wall is also formed by endosteal layer and some part of the meningeal layer. Now, roof of the cavernous sinus formed by area of dura mater in front of crossing of fixed and free margin of tentorium cerebelli. And this roof is continuous medially with the diaphragma cilia. The dural roof is pierced by third and fourth cranial nerve close to posterior clinoid process. Internal carotid artery at carotidoclinoid foramen that is close to the anterior clinoid process. So oculomotor and trochlear nerve close to the posterior clinoid process, and internal carotid artery close to anterior clinoid process. So what are the structures passing through the cavernous sinus? So this cut section is internal carotid artery. Near the internal carotid artery, abducens nerve, and near the lateral wall from above downward, the third cranial nerve, oculomotor, below that fourth cranial nerve, trochlear nerve, and these are two divisions of trigeminal nerve, ophthalmic and maxillary nerve. And all the above mentioned structures, internal carotid artery and nerves, are separated from venous blood by endothelial lining of the sinus. So here you can also see, so these are interlacement of reticular fibers in cadaver. Because of it, cavernous sinus appears spongy. Because of its appearance spongy, it is called cavernous sinus. Sinuses are situated on each side of the body of the sphenoid bone, and structures passing through cavernous sinus, internal carotid artery, abducens nerve, trochlear, oculomotor nerve, trochlear nerve. So this one is ophthalmic and maxillary division of trigeminal nerve. External relations of the cavernous sinus. What are the structure related externally? So medially and below, you can see hypophysis cerebri or pituitary gland. So these two are sphenoid air sinus. Laterally, you will get cavum trigeminally containing trigeminal ganglion in posterior inferior part of lateral wall. And this part is uncus of temporal lobe of cerebrum. Above, you will get optic chiasma, optic tract, and internal carotid artery. So this artery turns backward, then upward after piercing the roof, and course of the artery within and above the sinus described an U-shaped loop known as carotid siphon. This part already shown. Superiorly, it is related to optic chiasma, optic tract, internal carotid artery. Here you will also get anterior perforated substances. So medially, pituitary gland, sphenoid air sinus. Now tributaries of cavernous sinus. The tributaries of cavernous sinus: superior ophthalmic vein, inferior ophthalmic vein, the central vein of retina, superficial middle cerebral vein, inferior cerebral vein, sphenoparietal sinus, and sometimes anterior trunk or frontal of the middle meningeal vein. So these are tributaries of cavernous sinus. So here you can see superior ophthalmic vein. So these two are cavernous sinus situated on each side of body of the sphenoid fluid. And here you will get pituitary gland. Now come to the communications. The cavernous sinus communicate with the transverse sinus via superior petrocell sinus. So this part is transverse sinus is communicated with the cavernous sinus through superior petrocell sinus. The cavernous sinus also communicate with the internal jugular vein through inferior petrocell sinus and the plexus around internal carotid artery. So it has communication with pterygoid venous plexus through the emissary veins which pass through foramen ovale, foramen spinosum, foramen faciali, foramen lacerum. So here you can see the communications. So this is cavernous sinus. So here you will get pterygoid venous plexus. The cavernous sinus is communicating with the pterygoid venous plexus. Centrally there is superior ophthalmic vein and inferior ophthalmic vein. So this part is superior. So transverse sinus communicated with the superior sagittal sinus and internal jugular vein communicated with the inferior petrocell sinus. Now, this cavernous sinus also communicate with the facial vein. This blue color is the facial vein. It is communicated with the cavernous sinus through two routes. So one is superior ophthalmic vein and angular vein. So angular vein is formed by union of supraorbital and supratrochlear vein. So this angular vein to the superior ophthalmic vein communicate with the cavernous sinus. And this is pterygoid venous plexus. The deep facial vein is communicating with the cavernous sinus through pterygoid venous plexus. The deep facial vein, it has no direct communication with the cavernous sinus but through the pterygoid venous plexus. So this is cavernous sinus through superior ophthalmic vein, and there is also inferior ophthalmic vein. And another vein is deep facial vein. So it is also communicating with the cavernous sinus via or through the cavernous sinus. Now right and left cavernous sinus are connected with anterior and posterior intercavernous sinuses. So it also communicates with the superior sagittal sinus through superficial middle cerebral vein and superior anastomotic vein. factors regulating the flow of blood in the cavernous sinus. So number 1, the expansile pulsation of internal carotid artery helps in flow of venous blood. So another factor, gravity and sense of position of the head also helps in or regulates the flow of blood in the cavernous sinus. So one is expansile pulsation of internal carotid artery, second is gravity and sense of position of the head. Clinical correlation or applied anatomy. So there may be cavernous sinus thrombosis because of infection or sepsis. So that is called septic thrombosis of cavernous sinus. And cause of these thrombosis. So as there are numerous communication from dangerous area of face, orbit and pharynx, infection from dangerous area of the face, orbit and pharynx may spread to the cavernous sinus, leading to septic thrombosis. And if there is thrombosis of cavernous sinus, there will be severe pain in eye and forehead along the distribution of ophthalmic nerve. It's called ophthalmoplasia due to involvement of third, fourth, and sixth cranial nerve. There is also marked edema of eye because of stagnation of blood in superior ophthalmic vein, and that leads to exophthalmos. Now, infection from one cavernous sinus may spread to other cavernous sinus as there is communication between right and left cavernous sinus through anterior and posterior intercavernous sinuses. So if there is infection of right cavernous sinus, it may spread to the left cavernous sinus also. That is called bilateral septic thrombosis of cavernous sinus. So unilateral thrombosis may be bilateral because of communication by anterior and posterior intercavernous sinus. So this area is called danger triangle of face. So if there is infection within this triangle, the infection may spread through the facial vein to cavernous sinus via pterygoid venous plexus. So another clinical importance is arteriovenous communication. So if internal carotid artery is ruptured due to fracture of base of skull following head injury, arteriovenous communication may be established between blood of artery and cavernous sinus. So this is usually followed by trauma or injury to the head leading to fracture of base of skull, and arterial blood communicates with the cavernous sinus. If there is arteriovenous communication, symptom or manifestation will be pulsating exophthalmos. There will be edema of the upper eyelid, maybe lower eyelid also, partial or complete ophthalmoplasia. There is severe pain around the orbit, a loud systolic murmur over the temporal region can be heard because of communication of internal carotid artery with the cavernous sinus. And treatment of this arteriovenous communication is by ligation of internal carotid artery, but it may lead to contralateral hemiplegia. So if you ligate internal carotid artery, there will be hemiplegia of the opposite side.